All right, so we're going to start with this chapter 2 and 3 homework key. This first problem is got some major problems with it. You may have seen something in addition to what I see here. But first of all, it's not labeled and we don't know what it's about. Then also this is also definitely way more than 100%. It violates the area principle because we can see clearly that this 85% section looks even smaller than this 46% section. So we've got some issues, a lot of issues with that chart. All right, on this next section, we had kind of done that together. So I'll just let that be right there. Make sure that you are just putting those correct denominators and paying attention to the, and when you get your numerator, so if this is your denominator, then your numerator has to be out of that section, conditional upon being accepted. All right. The next section, we're going to be seeing if we have a relationship between student and staff and then the driver. So I did go ahead and I put these percentages in here. You know that the conditional is the student and staff. The marginal is this total. Okay, but it does ask questions first. What percent of all cars surveyed, so that makes my denominator 359, were foreign? Foreign combines these two pieces together. So that's your 45 plus 102. That's how you got 147. What percent of the American cars? So that's out of the 212 American cars. What percent of them were American? So that's that direction. So it asked for in that realm. Next, what percent of the students? So of the students, so that's your denominator, 195, and then the American section of that was 107. All right, these marginal distributions I got from this marginal section right here. Remember that since the type of driver is the explanatory variable, then your fractions went in this direction. So your denominators were always these bottom numbers whenever you were making your fractions for this chart over here. Okay? So our American was 59%, European 12.5%, Asian 28.4%. And then you can see I did these fractions this direction here with a denominator of 195 for my student, a denominator of 164 for the staff percentages. So those are listed there. So I can tell, and of course you are supposed to compare a conditional to a marginal. So I can see that in both the American and the European realm, these are not the same as American and European overall. So overall, origin and type of origin of car and type of driver are not independent because the fact that you're a staff or student affects the rate at which you have a particular car. And then, as with AP, I went ahead and I gave an example of all three types. Staff have American cars at a higher rate. So you can see I compared here. Staff have American cars at a higher rate. Students have European cars at a higher rate. But what's interesting is that Asian cars actually seem to be independent of driver because those are about the same as this Asian overall. So that was interesting. But you still say, since two of the three categories were different, then you still say overall origin of car is independent of type of driver. All right, next is the blood pressure problem. And again, we know that the age is the one that is the explanatory variable. So we are doing our fractions in this direction. And so marginal distribution is coming from here in the margin. Here's our marginal area. And then we've got our conditional based on age. Okay, so I've got those listed there and you can see them. Then there was the picture that was asked to do relative frequencies. So to go ahead and do them, of course, in terms of percents. You always do it in percents, not in the actual counts. So I listed those, and here is my brief description of the association. The chart above shows that there is a relationship between age category and blood pressure level. As employees' age increase, the percent of high blood pressure increases in patients. And then does this prove that the people's blood pressure increases? No, you cannot prove anything without a controlled experiment. Remember, they're just doing basically an observational study here where they are taking a look at the material. You can only see that there is a relationship between age and blood pressure. So there's a correlation, not a causation. I can't say that age causes a particular blood pressure. All right, so I think that is all of the going over of the chapters 2 and 3 homework key.